Hello everyone, welcome to this video. We're going to be talking about why we're going to be learning Python for this year. So your goal today is to understand that there are different programming languages, but we'll be using Python 3. And we're going to get a little brief understanding what procedural programming is. So let's talk about Python. Python is a general programming language. Basically, it is jack of all trades. Anytime you have a programming project that you need to do, you can use Python to solve such project. Um, Mainly, Python is used for web-based applications. So, if you want to create a web app with Python, we can use Python to manipulate databases. We can do some data analytics, and Python is commonly used to study computer science as well. Python is also considered a high-level language. Where higher the level of a language is, it means that it is easier for the human programmers to understand rather than the machines or computers to understand. So a good example would be C. The programming language C is considered a lower level language compared to Python, and for most programmers, they will find Python easier to understand. However, the C programming language, the computer will have an easier time to understand and executing the code. Next, Python is also an interpreted language, where Python will translate its program from top to bottom, line by line, and then the machine will execute those codes line by line until it finishes or it reaches an error. Whereas a popular language called Java is considered a compile language, where when you program a program in Java, it will compile it to a code that the machine will understand better. Then the machine will execute that entirety compiled code. And if it finishes, it finishes. If it hits an error, we usually get a compiled error, as in a Java program will not run if there was a compiled error. There are both pros and cons to interpreted and compiled languages, but we'll get into that later. Lastly, Python 3 is the latest version of Python. Long ago, there was a very popular version called Python 2.7, where a lot of famous apps were written in that version. However, as of January 1st, 2020, Python 3 is the only supported version from the Python organization. Therefore, we're going to be using Python 3. Next, let's talk about procedural programming. Before we define what procedural programming is, we're going to be looking at the definition of programming paradigm. A programming paradigm is a way either a programming language that's designed or a programmer's methodology when writing their code. And there are multiple programming paradigms, such as procedural, which we will be learning this year, object-oriented, and functional programming, which we learn later on. Procedural programming is about writing a clear group of codes that solves a given problem. It will execute the group of code in order. For us to do this effectively, we must learn what abstraction is. Abstraction is the ability to understand all the parts of the entire problem so that we can derive a solution. So basically, programming is all about tackling a problem and for us to figure out the best instruction, the best set of instructions that a computer can follow so that we can solve that problem. And the easiest way to do this is starting at what is our first instruction and what should our next set of instructions be, so that at the end, our program solves a given problem. And that is the essence of what procedural programming is. Before we end off this video, we're going to talk about some apps that were built or use Python in their program. Starting off at Instagram, when we talk about uploading pictures to their database, grabbing pictures, grabbing some statistics based on your post, that is using Python in Instagram. Next, we have YouTube. A bunch of their data analytics and holding videos in their database is also using Python as well. And much like Instagram and YouTube, Spotify does the same thing, but more mainly their Discover feature, where they give you recommended music based on your listening pattern and taste. That is also done through Python as well. So today, in conclusion, we talked about what Python is, what versions that we're going to use, and we also looked at a little bit of what a programming paradigm was, how procedural programming works. Thank you for watching. Stay classy.